What's going on, everyone? Welcome to Cheating Tales Lab. Thanks so much for being here today. We've got a thrilling story lined up, and we hope you love it. Let's jump in. The bell rang, signaling the end of another school day. I gathered my papers, nodding goodbye to the last few students shuffling out of my classroom. 20 years of teaching high school English, and the routine never changed. But lately, that routine had become a lifeline, the only constant in a world that felt increasingly off-kilter. I drove home, the same route I'd taken for years. The modest two-story house came into view, a home that once held dreams and warmth. Now it felt like a facade, much like my marriage to Sylvia. Sylvia. Even her name left a bitter taste in my mouth. We drifted apart, two strangers sharing a space. Her dreams had outgrown our simple life, while I remained content with what we'd built together. Or so I thought. I entered the quiet house, noticing Sylvia's purse on the counter. She must be upstairs. I loosened my tie, heading to the kitchen for a much-needed drink. That's when I saw a crumpled receipt peeking out of her purse. Normally, I wouldn't pry, but something instinct maybe made me reach for it. As I smoothed out the paper, my heart sank. The Regal Hotel, a luxury suite, booked by Alejandro Meyer. Alejandro, the name echoed in my mind, the charming architect who'd been hanging around Sylvia lately. I'd seen the way she looked at him, but I'd dismissed it as harmless admiration. Clearly, I'd been a fool. I clutched the receipt, my knuckles white. The front door opened, and Sylvia's voice rang out. "Gordon, you're home early." I turned, facing her as she entered the kitchen. She looked radiant, her dark hair falling in waves around her shoulders. But now, all I saw was deception. "What's this?" I held up the receipt, my voice steadier than I felt. Sylvia's eyes widened for a moment before narrowing. "You went through my things? Answer the question, Sylvia." She laughed, a sound that cut through me like glass. "Oh, darling, are you jealous?" I stared at her, disbelief washing over me. This wasn't the woman I'd married. This creature before me was a stranger, cold and cruel. "Jealous," I repeated, my tone flat. Sylvia sauntered closer, a predatory gleam in her eyes. "You should be. Alejandro knows how to treat a woman. He doesn't bore her with talk of lesson plans and parent-teacher conferences. So you're admitting it? You're having an affair?" She shrugged, reaching for the receipt. I pulled it away, and her eyes flashed with anger. "What did you expect, Gordon? Look at you, a high school teacher with delusions of grandeur. Alejandro is going places. He can give me the life I deserve." Each word was a dagger, but I refused to show her how deeply they cut. "And what life is that, Sylvia? One built on lies and deceit." She laughed again, the sound grating on my nerves. "Oh, please, spare me the moral high ground. You're just upset because you can't satisfy me anymore." I took a step back, suddenly seeing our entire marriage in a new light. Every late night, every secretive phone call, it all made sense now. "How long?" I asked, my voice low. Sylvia smirked, clearly enjoying my pain. "Long enough. And tonight, I'm meeting him again. He's booked the penthouse suite. Don't wait up, darling. I'll be too busy being treated like a queen." She turned to leave, but I grabbed her arm. "Sylvia, think about what you're doing. We can work this out." She yanked her arm away, her eyes cold. "Work what out? There's nothing left to save, Gordon. You're pathetic, clinging to the sham of a marriage. I want more, and Alejandro can give it to me." I watched her walk away, my world crumbling around me. The front door slammed, and I was left alone in the silence of our once happy home. Hours passed. I sat in the darkness, the receipt still clutched in my hand. As the night wore on, my shock turned to anger, then to a cold, calculating rage. Sylvia had made her choice. Now it was time to make mine. I grabbed my keys and wallet, leaving behind the house that no longer felt like home. I spent the night in my car, parked at the school, my mind racing with plans. Sylvia wanted to play games? Fine, but she'd soon learn that I wasn't the pushover she thought I was. As dawn broke, I made my decision. Sylvia had shattered our life together. Now, I would shatter her illusions of grandeur, and I would do it without mercy. The bank opened at 9 a.m. sharp. I was the first customer through the door. My resolve was already strong by a sleepless night of planning. "Good morning, Mr. Mayo." The teller greeted me with a smile. "How can I help you today?" I forced a pleasant expression. "I need to make some changes to my accounts." 30 minutes later, I walked out, our joint account emptied, and Sylvia's credit cards canceled. It was amazing how quickly one could dismantle a life built over decades. Next stop, the lawyer's office. I'd called in a favor with an old friend who owed me. By noon, I had divorce papers drawn up, the ink still wet on the signature line. Back at the house, I gathered a few essentials: clothes, important documents, the woodworking tools that had been my solace over the years. As I packed, my eyes fell on our wedding photo. Sylvia's smile, once so captivating, now seemed like a mask hiding the deceit that had always lurked beneath. I placed the divorce papers on the kitchen table, along with a note: "Queen of the streets now. Enjoy your pauper's palace." Short, cruel, and to the point, just like her betrayal. As I loaded my car, Mrs. Henderson from next door called out, "Everything all right, Gordon?" Sylvia left in quite a hurry last night. I plastered on a smile. "Just fine, Mrs. Henderson. Sylvia's visiting a friend. I'm heading out for a bit myself." The lie came easily. Let Sylvia deal with the fallout when she returned. I drove to a motel on the outskirts of town, checking in under a false name. As I settled into the sparse room, my phone buzzed. Sylvia's name flashed on the screen. I declined the call, a satisfaction settling over me. Hours passed. My phone lit up repeatedly calls, texts, voicemails. I ignored them all, imagining Sylvia's panic as she discovered her new reality. Finally, curiosity got the better of me. I listened to the first voicemail. "Gordon, what the hell have you done?" Sylvia's voice was shrill, panicked. "The cards aren't working. The account's empty. Call me back immediately." I deleted it without a second thought. The next message played automatically. "This isn't funny, Gordon. You can't do this to me. I'll tell everyone what a controlling bastard you are. You'll regret this." Her threats washed over me, leaving me cold. She'd already taken everything that mattered. What more could she possibly do? The final message was different. Alejandro's smooth voice filled the room. "Gordon, it's Alejandro. Look, I know you're upset, but let's handle this like men. Call me back, and we can discuss this civilly." I laughed bitterly. Civilly? As if there was anything civil about stealing another man's wife. I deleted all the messages, then blocked both their numbers. Let them stew in their own mess. As night fell, I sat on the edge of the motel bed, staring at the blank TV screen. The initial rush of revenge was fading, leaving behind a hollow ache. But I pushed it aside. This was just the beginning. Sylvia and Alejandro thought they'd played me for a fool, but they'd soon learn that I was capable of so much more than they'd ever imagined. I pulled out my laptop, fingers flying over the keys as I began to plan the next phase of my retaliation. Sylvia had connections in this town, friends in high places, but I had something far more valuable: 20 years of quiet observation and a mind for strategy that no one had ever bothered to notice. By dawn, I had a plan. It wasn't enough to just walk away. No, I would dismantle their world piece by piece, just as they'd shattered mine. The next few weeks passed in a blur of calculated moves and quiet manipulations. I returned to work, playing the role of the dedicated teacher by day. But in the evenings, I set my plan in motion. It started small. A concerned comment to a mutual friend over coffee. "I'm worried about Sylvia," I confided, my voice low. "She's been under so much stress lately. acting erratically. Sarah, always eager for gossip, leaned in. Oh,